Hi, I'm Shauna, this is Shauna's World. Welcome back to my channel where I make videos about living intentionally. If that sounds like something you might be interested in, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And you can also follow me on Instagram at Shauna's World. In this video, I'm going to be talking about ideas for a sabbatical. So if you found this video because you're taking a sabbatical or thinking of taking a sabbatical and working out exactly how you want to make the most of that time, this is the video for you. Or maybe you just want to do some casual dreaming and go, if I had time off work, what would I do? I was lucky enough to take a sabbatical at the end of 2022 into the start of 2023. It was 8 months in total. And I knew it was something I'd wanted to do for a really long time. And when I did it, it made me completely reassess my priorities in life and where I wanted to spend my time and how I wanted to live. And I really think that if you are in a position where you can take a sabbatical, which I know not everybody has that opportunity, but if you can, it can really transform the way you think about things and assess where your priorities are. And for me, it kind of helped me to step into a more authentic version of who I am. All the time I spent away hiking and in nature, it really made me reassess living in London. And I knew I hadn't been happy in London for some time, and it made me make that decision to move out of London. I moved to Devon. Here I am in the beautiful Totnes. I'm very happy here, and it hasn't all been plain sailing. I started a new job when I moved here, and that's been really challenging, but overall I do not regret my decision one bit to move. And that all came out of hiking a really long way and knowing that the way I was living wasn't in alignment with where I wanted to be. When I managed to get that time off for the sabbatical, I really thought it would be a once in a lifetime thing. And I think, even to be able to do it once is incredible. But now that I've done it and I realised how much better I felt in that environment, it is something I would really love to do throughout my career every so many years, just to kind of give myself a bit of space to take time out and reflect. So I think sabbaticals are a really good way to recharge, reassess, and actually end up being better at your job in the long run when you've managed to take some time out from the things that have been stressing you out. In this video, I'm going to give 9 ideas of things that you could do on your sabbatical. Some of them are things I did, or some of them are things I would love to do if I had more career breaks. So here they are. Number 1. Do a long distance hike or another human powered adventure like a cycle or a row or cross country ski journey. Now, for anyone adventure minded, doing a human powered adventure is the ultimate way to spend a sabbatical. That could be anything from through hiking a long distance footpath to anything way more weird and wacky. Adventures come in all shapes and sizes, with people regularly rowing across oceans, cycling around the world, skiing to the poles. And then on the weirder side, I have a friend who once kick-scooted the entire length of the USA. And I don't think I've ever shared this on here before, but I once applied to join a team that was aiming to cross the Atlantic Ocean on a bouncy castle. I don't think that adventure ever went ahead. It was essentially going to be a raft that was built to look like a bouncy castle. It was going to be a really expensive expedition with lots of sponsorship needed. I couldn't make it work. But there are all sorts out there. A lot of adventure can be gimmicky, with people aiming for world's firsts where they're kind of questionable. But an adventure can just be hiking a long distance footpath. That's what I did with 2 months of my trip. You could do something like one of the Caminos. You could do one of the long distance footpaths in America, like the Appalachian Trail or the Pacific Crest Trail. Those are the kind of big, more social trails. Or one of the more off the beaten path trails. And I know the one I really have my eye on, if I did ever have the time for it again, is the Transcaucasian Trail that goes across Georgia and Armenia. Idea number 2, do some overland travel. If a human-powered adventure isn't so much up your street, one of the most popular ways to spend a sabbatical is just general travel, so moving around a country or between several countries. And because you'll have more time on a sabbatical than you would on an ordinary holiday, it's a great way to do it overland, because you've got the time and space to move around, and that kind of slower pace of travel really deepens the level of travel you're doing. It's also not flying can really help your environmental impact, and you're more likely to have those kind of fortuitous, serendipitous connections that happen when you travel slowly and you're not just kind of flying from place to place and then spending not so long in each place. So thinking about things like, could you take the train from London to Singapore? Or could you hitchhike from the UK to Morocco? Or could you just see how far you could get using only Flixbuses, or you could drive your own car, just drive a really, really long way and see different places. I used to rush around very much from place to place when I travel, but I've really grown to advocate for slow travel and the amount you can absorb when you spend a bit longer in a place, moving around by public transport rather than by plane where I can. I definitely haven't always done that, but it definitely, adds something to the experience. 3, learn a language. Those of us who come from English-speaking countries are notoriously bad at speaking other languages. But I think so many of us dream of being able to do it. A sabbatical is the perfect opportunity to go somewhere where you want to learn the language they speak, immerse yourself in the culture, take lessons, live with a host family, and be in a situation where you can't just be speaking your mother tongue all the time. These kind of environments can feel overwhelming at first, but then you're forced to learn, you're forced to speak the language you're trying to learn, and that will progress your skills so much faster than just staying in your own country and taking lessons. Real immersion. And there are lots of ways to make the learning extra fun. So for example, I've seen a language school in Costa Rica where they offer, alongside Spanish lessons, you also do surf lessons, and the school is on the beach, so you spend your day split between the two. I've seen a Thai language school where you also do Thai local cooking classes and learn the local cuisine and how to prepare dishes alongside the language. And I am currently learning German on Duolingo and did German in school, although my skills are not very good at the moment, but I have a dream of going and spending a bit of time at a language school in the mountains in Austria and, doing a few hours a day of studying the language, living with a host family, and then going off for a few hours hiking and trail running in the mountains and just enjoying being in a really beautiful place while also learning a new language. Also, once you're more proficient in the language you're learning, you can consider getting a job in that country, and then that really forces you to speak to colleagues and customers, and that will progress your language skills even quicker. Idea number 4. Volunteer for a cause you really care about. Taking a sabbatical can give you the time to volunteer for something you really care about. It could mean using the skills you already have from your day job or from a hobby to give to a cause you feel aligned with and support that cause, or it could be about learning new skills through volunteering. If you feel passionately about the environment, you might want to join an organisation like Extinction Rebellion and do activism work, or you might want to volunteer on a conservation project and kind of get some more on the ground, hands-on experience. If you want to volunteer and travel at the same time, you can look at sites like Workaway or look at Woofing, that's working on organic farms. A skill exchange, you offer your skills and your time volunteering, and in exchange you get accommodation and often food, and then you have that mutually beneficial relationship with the host. Often with this kind of work, they're looking for skills like sustainable farming, tutoring, personal care, hospitality. And so if you're interested in any of those things, that's a great way to be able to travel and volunteer your way around. However, when it comes to volunteering overseas, do your due diligence, because there's a lot of kind of voluntourism companies out there that are not the most ethical. So there's a lot that will kind of look for volunteers in children's homes, orphanages, that keep children away from their parents because they're kind of a cash cow. And also animal projects that kind of marketed as conservation projects, but are really glorified animal tourism, and they worry more about creating interesting animal experiences for tourists than they do about the well-being of the animals. So really make sure you know what you're getting into when you're volunteering abroad. Number 5, train in a sport. If sport is one of your hobbies, using your sabbatical to go all in on training in that sport can be so rewarding. I did this for a short time during my sabbatical with a boxing camp in Thailand, and I spent 5 weeks training twice a day and doing conditioning, eating. It was really immersing myself in that boxing life. Now, boxing is not my main sport at all. I hadn't really done that much boxing before, but I still really loved the experience of feeling like I was being trained like a professional athlete. Having that time to really immerse myself in the sport meant my skills developed so much more quickly than they had over kind of intermittent classes over the years. And also just the lifestyle of training in that way was incredible. So many of us dream of what it would be like to just eat, sleep, train, repeat, and live like an athlete and really immerse yourself in that world. And if you have a sabbatical and you love sport, that could be a great way of spending your time. There are lots of dedicated sports facilities and gyms where you can train in this way, and it's anything from Muay Thai to CrossFit or just general health and fitness camps. Idea number 6, write a book. So many people have a dream of writing a book but just can't find the time to put into it. It's a time-consuming activity. Whether you have a literary masterpiece or a light romance bubbling up, or want to turn an adventure you've done into a memoir, taking a sabbatical is a great way to bring your idea to life. Who doesn't love the idea of locking yourself away, writing for hours a day, and turning your ideas into a masterpiece? Whether you decide to go down the traditional publishing route, or you self-publish, or you just decide to write for yourself and not put it out into the world, the act of bringing your story to life is incredibly cathartic. Number 7, work on your side hustle or monetize your hobby. If I could have another sabbatical, this is categorically what I would do with my time. I'd go all in on YouTube, which is currently just a hobby. It's making me no money at all. And I'd just work really hard at it, treat it like a full-time job, and see how things unfold. For other people, this might be a hobby like crafting or baking, or doing a hobby you've always done for joy, but seeing if you want to turn it into a business. There are definite downsides to monetizing your hobby, because I think if something is the thing that makes you relax and makes you feel joyful, if that becomes the thing you rely on for survival, that can bring a whole new stress to something that's supposed to be wonderful and joyful. But if you just have a spark inside you wondering, what if I really did go all in on that thing? What could happen? What could that look like? I think taking a sabbatical where you actually have a set time frame and a job to go back to can be a really good time to do that, because you've got something to fall back on, but you can really spend that time developing that craft and turning it into a business. And then if it doesn't work out, you have something to go back to, so it's not the biggest risk like quitting your job altogether. 8, take on a DIY project. If you're a bit handy and want to hone those skills a little bit more, taking on a DIY project with your sabbatical could be for you. It could be converting a van to travel around in. It could be fixing up a boat. I say this as someone who lived on a boat and did not spend enough time fixing it up. Or you might want to do a big kind of grand design style house renovation, house build, something like that, if that's something that you have in your life goals to do anyway. It can be a great way to make your space, your living space, your traveling space exactly as you want it, while also challenging yourself to learn new skills. No matter how handy you already are, taking on a new DIY project is always going to bring new challenges. You're always going to be learning new things. And it can be pretty character building to overcome obstacles and get to your desired result. And finally, number 9, get an overseas working visa. Lots of countries offer overseas working visas, particularly aimed at the under 35s demographic. This is particularly popular in Australia and New Zealand, where young people travel. They get bar work, farm work, office work, whatever they can find, and then they spend the rest of that time traveling around the country. Lots of people do this and use that working visa straight out of high school or university, but it can actually be really good to use it because now it goes up to 35. It used to be 30. It gives you more time and space. And actually, when you do that a bit further along in your career, and go out there and use the working visa, your earning potential is higher, which means you can potentially work less and travel more. So sadly now I'm too old for the under 35s working visa, but if you are young enough, or if there are other ones you find for other ages, I don't know if there are things like that for older ages. I know there's digital nomad visas in some countries, but it can be a really good way of exploring new country, getting to know the culture, and earning money and traveling. Well, that's it for today. And thank you so much for listening to my 9 ideas for things you can do on a sabbatical. If you have any other ideas of things you've done on your sabbatical, or are planning to do on your sabbatical, or would like to do on your sabbatical, please drop them in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure to have you here, and I hope very much you're planning an epic sabbatical, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.